coming up right now to talk about something that Mich had really touched on, but building the sustainable STEM pipeline for young women as well, and why this is incredibly important in bridging this global gender gap that is continuing to widen. And I'd like to welcome on stage Dr. Precious Moloi-Motsepe, who is the CEO of the African Fashion International.
Okay. So I've been trying to get a seat at this Top Women conference for many, many years. And I'm so excited to be here today, joining amazing people at this conference. And I want to say that I'm really, really inspired and very excited to talk to you about how we can really make a difference in the lives of women, especially the young generation coming behind us. And to everyone in the audience, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for making it here to share your experiences and expertise with all of us. And you know what? I really like that you're trying to change the world and solve problems of women and problems of the world, and you're doing it whilst you're looking absolutely fabulous. So power to you all. And to Top Media and Standard Bank, my sister, you spoke so well. I love your bank. So thank you for all the work that you do. And to the media, how wonderful it is to see our media covering women's events and showcasing us in the way that we really want to be portrayed in. And I'll tell you, I've just come back from Rwanda. This past week I was in Rwanda, and as we drove from the airport to the area where the conference was going to be held, I spotted a statue in the middle of a park. And it's a statue of a woman, a very, decent, elegant-looking woman, really proud. And she's holding a hand of a child. She's taking the child to school. So I inquired about this statue, and I was told that before that statue came up, there was a statue of a woman with a bucket on her head, carrying water, and a child in her arm. And the women of Rwanda said, "No ways, you're not going to characterize us like that." So the government changed the statue, and the statue that they now have is the statue that the women of Rwanda want to be known as, and that's how they want to be portrayed. So thank you to the media also for shining the light on what our women are doing in society, and giving them the credit that they deserve. So today, I'm really excited that when we are together, we will be able to achieve gender equality in our lifetime. Think about it. Who in their right mind would decline an offer of an additional 12 trillion US dollars that could be added to your global GDP just by working towards closing the global gender gap? So what do we know about the current status of women in STEM fields? And this is what we know. At primary and secondary school level, little Tsepo and little Lerato, they take up math and science, roughly in equal numbers. But at tertiary level, for every 10 men that graduate in engineering, there's only 3 women. And this is similar for nearly every science and engineering field. And by the time we get to the workplace, for over 30,000 engineering graduates that are registered with the South African Engineering Council, only 3% are women. And at senior levels within STEM industries, men outnumber women by far. And this one really stumps me, that in the last 118 years of the Nobel Prize Institute, only 8 women have received a Nobel Peace Prize for science. So the question is, why do we have so few women in STEM fields? Well, it starts at home. It starts with you. It starts in our schools. Consciously or unconsciously, we all influence our children's interest in their career choices. Children learn what they see. When girls see women as teachers, as nurses, and as managers of their homes, and if they do not see women in science, in technology, in business, they begin to believe that their ability to learn science and math in school is less than that of boys. And on the opposite end, boys are frequently represented in movies, on television, as genius scientists or as heroes who work with technology and machines. And they gravitate naturally to these careers. Now, for women, this is especially harmful because as young girls, they do not believe that they can excel in maths and science, and their earning potential and productivity diminishes and becomes stifled. In schools, poor access to decent ablution facilities, lack of access to decent laboratories, including science and technology equipment, lack of role model teachers, results in a cycle of less role models and nobody for girls to emulate. When it comes to the homes, what we expect of girls, the domestic chores, early pregnancy, and the practice of early marriage prevents girls from continuing with their education. Now, I studied medicine. I grew up in Soweto, in the township of Tladi. I come from very humble beginnings. My father was a teacher, and my mother was a nurse, and there are 5 of us at home. And very often, we would be managing, and then something happens, and we fall below, what the family can afford. But I'd like to share with you, during my medical student days, a story that comes from back then. And listen carefully. So a father and son get in a car accident and are rushed to hospital. The father dies, and the boy is taken to the operating room, and the surgeon says, "I can't operate on this boy because he's my son." How is this possible? Anybody? Is the father and the son involved in the car accident? Anybody at the back? There's a hand up there. Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Yes! I'm so excited because I asked my husband, Patrice, I asked my 3 boys, I asked 2 men who work with me, and they all said to me, it's not possible. I mean, unless maybe the father is part of the extended family and he's an uncle and he's also, and I'm like, hey, how about what you said? I'm so proud to be amongst people of such high intellect. You really get it, just like that. So the answer is simple. The surgeon is a mother. But because we never ever think of women in those positions, if I say pilot, you see John. If I say surgeon, you see a tall, very big guy, scalpel, you don't see the woman. The petite woman, you don't see her. It's actually 40 to 75% of people who can't solve this riddle because of unconscious bias, okay? We all have unconscious bias, and we pass it on to our children, and they don't see themselves in the positions that they should be. We often hear also debates about which gender will be most impacted by the fourth industrial revolution. But under these arguments, one thing is clear. The lower level jobs in society are the most likely to be replaced by digital automation. And guess who is affected there? It is the poor in our society. And who are the poor in our society? It's women and youth, okay? Women and youth are the majority group who live in poverty and unemployment. And if we can propel them towards these highly valued and high-paying careers, ask the lady from Google how much she earns. The STEM areas pay well. The lady from Standard Bank will tell you that also. If we can get these young girls and women into these careers, we will begin to break the cycle of poverty. We will begin to help these young people help themselves, help their families, and help society. So how can we drive more women into STEM fields? I've just currently come also from a meeting in London, and I met a woman friend who's an engineer who does site assessments. Now, her job is to use her engineering expertise to guide other engineers and construction teams with rebuilding wreckages and unstable infrastructure. She's usually the first person on site with her hard hat and her knowledge, and she can then lead all those others who are more willing to do the actual heavy lifting. Now, these are careers that our children need to know about, and these are stories that will shift our thinking away from unconscious bias. Through our family foundation, and I'm sure you've just seen on the video, I meet many inspiring young people, and some of these girls are in the audience today. I'm not sure where they are sitting. Can you raise your hands? These are high school students who have come to join you, and please, when you see them outside, do talk to them and inspire them. Our Family Foundation sponsors more than 2,000 students who study at universities throughout South Africa in various disciplines, especially in the STEM fields. Now, there's one young girl who really inspires me. Her name is Lerato. She's passionate about science and technology, and in her family, she will be the first person to go to university. And she cites Wangari Maathai, the Kenyan environmental scientist and social activist, as one of her role models. Now, Lerato was one of the lucky few who was taught science at high school by a female teacher. Her teacher actively raised the profiles of prominent women in science, allowing the learners to see themselves and be represented in these fields. And Wangari Maathai was the first woman to graduate with a PhD in East and Central Africa, and was the first Black woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, Lerato dreams about following in her footsteps as a scientist, and she will advance efforts to mitigate climate change. She has chosen the path of bioinformatics, something that all of us think is just science fiction and doesn't really exist, but it does for young women like Lerato. Now, I'm sure you've heard that the World Economic Forum's Future of Work survey predicts that 85% of companies are likely to adopt data analytics. So Lerato's job prospects in future is excellent, considering that the demand for bioinformatics scientists outweighs the supply. For many of us, these are professions that did not exist when we went to university. Lerato is now studying towards a high-paying profession in STEM, And she will eventually be part of a team that creates biofuels and natural materials to replace our reliance on scarce resources. And Lerato is just an example. I know there are so many young people and women out there that are doing amazing things in these fields. With our Girls in STEM program with the foundation, we piloted several activations with identified anchor schools around the country. We started off with 900 girl learners in grade 9 from 4 different provinces with their teachers. These young girls were exposed to careers and innovations in STEM. We chose grade 9 specifically because we wanted to influence their subject choices in matric. And we wanted to get them thinking about their future in STEM careers. Since following up with the schools that were involved, we have learned that almost 50% of the girls who attended our program have now enrolled in subjects with science and maths as their key subjects. And in some of the schools, they have seen numbers of girls in classrooms double. And our aim is to increase this pipeline. We want to continuously support these girls right through matric as they enter universities and in the workplace. And in order to keep these girls in school, we conduct also infrastructure programs. We build decent toilets, we build laboratories, we build libraries in their schools so that they can stay in school and have all that they need to excel. Now the question is, why should you care? It is said that 80% of jobs available for years to come will require math and science skills. And this is important for our departments of education to really understand the importance of science and math skills for our kids. And currently, in artificial intelligence area, there's only 20% of women that are involved. And globally, women control 80% of consumption. Meeting these demands from these women is becoming the norm. Now, this presents, for all of you and for young girls who are coming up in the STEM fields, a huge opportunity. We cannot afford to have products developed for women without an input from women. So whatever industry that you are in, learn how technology, science, math can help you tap into this huge female market. So science is everywhere around us. If you look in your bag, there is science in there. It's in your lipstick, it's in your smartphone, it's in your tablet, it's in the makeup that you wear, it's in the petrol, in the cars that brought us here. We all use math and science in one way or another. And if you're not sure about that, just wait for payday and you will be using math one way or another. Okay. And if you love the arts, like I do now, fashion, then a degree in STEM helps you get a better job within the arts field. For the media, I believe there's a journalist who wrote an angry article about her job because her job was compromised because her phone was not really designed for her small hands. Now, this is a question of design and practicality, okay? Now, she was documenting a peaceful protest in Turkey where people were tear-gassed. And she tried to take a video. She fell on the ground and she was trying to take a video. But something that she had seen countless of her male colleagues do with their larger hands, phone in one hand, taking a video, she couldn't do. And she missed a huge opportunity to capture something that was so phenomenal, just because the device was not really designed to fit her tiny hands. For centuries, the status quo has excluded women from co-designing products and systems that we have all adopted. The clothes that we're all wearing have been made from fibers and materials, and they are created in laboratories that are manned predominantly not by women, mostly by men. The lipstick and other beauty products, they are also developed in laboratories, and you don't really see many women in there. Fashion and technology are merging in ways that we cannot begin to imagine. In my fashion company, we need scientists. Our need for scientists is becoming more necessary than ever. Sustainability is no longer a niche market because climate change is no longer far off. So even if you're interested in fashion, you need to learn how to chemically enhance natural plant ecosystems into durable materials. And already, clothing is being designed to absorb sunlight for charging our phones. Put a phone in your pocket, in your designer garment, and you're charging it through your clothes. And very soon, with new technology, we will be able to print our whole outfits. You want to change your career now. It's time. So, how many women do we know who are changing the status quo through STEM and other fields? Do you remember Mama Winnie Mandela? That lovely woman, I miss her. She was one of the greatest women in social sciences and one of these ever social workers. And what about Mama Sisulu? She was the epitome of health sciences, leaving behind a legacy for many of us to follow. And in sports, what can I say? We have with us one of the greatest athletes in our country. She has conquered despite many who are trying to bring her down. And we are very proud of her. Now, Caster has a God-given talent, okay? But for her body to perform at optimal performance, she needs science, maths, technology to work with her, okay? Her nutrition, her daily practice, her shoes, her sports gear, all that includes science and math calculations. Science brings out the excellence in Caster. And that's why she is who she is today. Not because of science, but because it enhances who she is. And this is the power of women in STEM, okay? There are women in South Africa also today who are rising up in STEM fields as leaders and innovators and are shaping the world around us with their technical expertise. There's Vera Shaba, who is an engineering entrepreneur. She designs energy-efficient and water-efficient, low-waste building systems. Her eye for sustainability and environmental conservation has grown into a successful business, which also leaves a positive impact. And then there's Professor Glenda Gray, who is the president of the South African Medical Research Council. She ran the largest HIV vaccine trial in South Africa and was chosen as one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine last year. Her groundbreaking research into mother-to-child transmission of HIV has dropped the number of babies born with HIV from 600,000 annually to just over 100,000. And these are people we need to really give a round of applause to. And tomorrow, we all look forward to the annual Women in Science Awards to learn more about the people behind scientific breakthroughs that bring valuable change to our lives. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with the proverb, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. Now, this is why every day I wake up, I pray and I thank God for the day. But I also thank my dad and my mom, my teachers, and my community for who I have become. My father in particular believed that I could become anything that I wanted to achieve. He believed that I could study medicine and become a doctor, despite our humble beginnings in Soweto. His belief in my abilities to succeed strengthened my own self-belief. My parents, my teachers, and the community I lived in believed that I could. So I also began to believe that it was possible. And this is why I'd like to urge every one of us here today, in your own homes, in your workspaces, in your own areas of influence, I'd like you to encourage more girls and boys to enter the STEM fields. Tell our girls that they can become anything they wish to become. Tell them that it is important that they contribute their expertise to advance humanity. And tell them that keeping up with technology, science, and maths, not with the Kardashians, will lead them to phenomenal success. Thank you.